Pennsylvania Senate candidate David McCormick. He knows what it's like to be in the middle of a heated campaign. But David, I understand you were there. What more can you tell us from your vantage point? And do you know if anybody else was potentially injured?
Yes. Thanks for having me. I'm still at the rally. It's all very chaotic. But I was in the front row, and President Trump had just announced me and had suggested I come up and invited me to come up on the stage, and then he said, no, he'll have him come up in a minute or two. And then there were a number of shots, and the crowd just sort of, went to the ground, and the Secret Service came and, very quickly tackled the president. But there were 7 or 8 shots, and it was hard to tell whether they came from one direction or from 2 different weapons. It wasn't clear. At least I couldn't tell. And then sadly, someone behind me up in the bleachers was definitely wounded. And there was a lot of blood, and, the police came in and helped carry that person out of the stand so they could get the care they needed. I'm not sure if others were injured or not. It was all, as you might imagine, very chaotic. But it was a very scary moment, obviously, because our president and innocent bystanders were under siege.
Yeah, sir, can you tell us how many people had gathered there today? It looked like quite the turnout. And also, can you just take us through what you saw from your perspective? Did it come from your left side or your right side, or where was it in relation to where you were located?
Yeah, I don't, it was an enormous crowd. I had asked a number of law enforcement officers, and they had said something around 15,000. So I don't know if that's an official number, but it was certainly huge. And it just kept.
I had to pause that. Did y'all see that? Oh my God. And this is right after July 4th. So everybody just finished hearing fireworks. You see, nobody flinched. When you heard that, nobody flinched. Sheesh, man. I took that personal. I take this personal because anybody that's for us, we better protect them. What in the world? And this is crazy because Simpsons be on it. Like, Simpson said that he was going to get, a Asian this year, and oh my goodness. All right, let's finish watching this.
Coming. It was building throughout the day. It's hard to tell, but at least some of the shots, I was sitting to President Trump's right as he was facing the crowd, and I was in the front row. It felt like some of the shots came from his left side, which would make sense because someone behind me was hit. So it felt like at least some came from that side of the crowd. And as I said, I couldn't tell whether it was one gun or 2, but there were 7 or 8 shots, just one right after another.
Well, and Dave, you're an Iraq War vet. You have served us in uniform voluntarily like these law enforcement folks out there today. So it is unmistakable to you that these were gunshots. This was a firearm.
Yeah, it definitely seemed to be the case. I'm no expert on this, but it sounded like a small caliber weapon of some sort. Initially, I thought it might be fireworks or something, but then the succession of the shot, I think it was clearly a weapon, a firearm. And as I said, I couldn't tell whether it was 1 or 2. But clearly, this was, from my vantage point, as someone who was there, it seemed very much an attack directed at the president, and a very scary moment.
Sir, can you tell us again about the person you saw who was injured or wounded? Again, man or woman, and what sort of condition did you notice they were in?
It was hard to tell. A number of people sitting around this person. It looked like a man. It was a large person. A number of people sitting around it started to administer first aid, and it looked like he had shirts wrapped around him to try to stem the bleeding. And then some police officers came in and carried him out of the stands, and all of that took a couple minutes. So I was sort of focused on that because it was to my back. Whether there were other people wounded or not, I couldn't tell. Of course, it was an enormous crowd, and the way it was set up, the president was on a podium, but there was a crowd behind him, and he was 360 around him. So once the shots happened, it became it wasn't panic. People didn't panic, but it was very chaotic, and everybody went down to the ground. Everybody was laying on the ground, because we weren't sure the shooting was done.
Yeah. Sir, I'm going to ask you a question. Choose to answer it the way you like. Is Donald Trump lucky to be alive right now?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I mean, again, the facts will come out, and I always am careful when you're in the middle of a crisis. You don't want to draw too many conclusions, but it felt to me like he's very lucky to be alive, and I hope others who were injured are going to survive this. It was a very scary moment.
Sir, thank you for your time. David McCormick is a Republican. He's running for the Senate seat in Pennsylvania, and he was there front row for that incident today. Sir, thank you again for your eyewitness account.
Nobody knows how easy it is.
Woo! Yo, Trump is a G. First off, let me just say this. I hate the way they took too long. What took the Secret Service so long? He was curled up behind that podium for the longest before they even came. And that made me mad. And then they stood up there, they trying to protect him and block his face and, protect the public from seeing him all distraught or whatever. And he's like, get out of here. He's like, I'm good. Yo, Trump is a G. This is not funny. I'm smiling, I'm laughing because I'm in shock right now. This is a very historical moment today. If you guys are not following this is so crazy because I just took a nap. I woke up and I'm like, oh my God. Whoo. Y'all.